Hello, everybody. My name is Ioan Durnescu. I'm professor at the University of Bucharest, Romania. Today, I will talk to you about module number 2, relationship skills. The aim of the presentation is to set the scene for the volunteer training on the relationship skills. I will also try to emphasize the main elements of the working alliance. But before moving on to discuss about these elements, I would like to talk to you about why relationship with the client is important. And in order to do that, I would like to mention that research, especially in psychotherapy, shows that the quality of the relationship is a very good predictor of the outcome. The relationship can be made responsible for up to 8% of the final outcome of the therapy. The volunteer is mostly responsible for the quality of the relationship, although it's true that also the client is contributing to the relationship with his or her personality, social skills, attachment styles, and so on. But ultimately, the volunteer is the one responsible or in the driving seat for the relationship. In the correctional world, different meta-analyses have demonstrated that those professionals who have better working alliance or relationship skills with their clients have clients with reduced rate of reoffending, sometimes even with up to 15%. So the quality of the working alliance is really, really important when it comes to helping people avoid crime in the future. But what is the relationship in this kind of semi-professional context with when we are talking about volunteers? And of course, literature is replete with a lot of information and papers on this subject. But most of these papers really draw on Bourdieu's work and speak about three main elements of the working alliance, which are agreement over the goal, collaboration on the task, and the bond. When we are talking about agreement over the goal, it means that the relationship has a shared goal. Both actors, the volunteer and the client, have the same kind of goal, and they do share it. They do understand each other when it comes to why we are in this relationship. When it comes to the collaboration on the task, the volunteer and the client are working together in a collaborative way. So it's a kind of exchange. It's a transactional relationship. I say something, you say something. I contribute with something. You contribute with something. So there is a collaboration on different tasks. But probably one of the most important, or maybe the most important element of the working alliance or the relationship is the bond, which is actually an emotional tie between the volunteer and the client. And this involves most of the time liking each other, treating each other with respect, being open, and so on. The literature is also talking about other relevant ingredients to the relationship, and as you will see, most of these ingredients are actually quite close to the elements that we discussed already. For example, when we are talking about trust, one of the other ingredients, that means that the client is confident that the volunteer is doing his or her best in achieving the shared goal. The client in this case feels free, honest, and open to discuss ideas, thoughts, emotions, feelings, and so on. But trust is something that is built over time. It's not something that it comes automatically in a relationship. It's like in the normal life. Trust is not something that is inherited or anything like that. It's something that is built step by step in time with patience. And for that, of course, the volunteer needs to show respect, to support, and to provide care, and also to provide this kind of careful listening, active listening to what the client is saying. Of course, there are a lot of other behaviors or micro behaviors that can consolidate trust between the volunteer and the client. For example, keeping the promises, or being on time, or being reliable, or doing what you promised that you will do, and so on. All these kind of behaviors are actually helping towards creating or building up trust. Another aspect, another important aspect that we need to discuss when it comes to the relationship is distance and closeness. When we are in a kind of relationship, we need to find a good balance between being very close to the person to allow empathy, to allow trust, openness, and so on. But at the same time, to be distant as much as possible in a way that it will not overwhelm you with emotions or with the problems of the client. So finding a good balance between closeness and distance is a very important aspect of our relationship. Again, it's very important to be as close as possible to the client to consolidate or to develop trust and openness and so on. But on the other hand, we need to keep some kind of distance in order to avoid being emotionally exhausted, or even avoiding burnout or other issues like that. Another very important aspect of relationship is friction. And of course, we are talking about friction or about involuntary clients, especially in the probation context, in the correctional context. This is not happening often when it comes to the involvement of volunteers, because in most cases, or in all of the cases, the relationship between a volunteer and the client is a voluntary one. So friction is not very likely, but even so, it is possible that some of the clients might feel a little bit resistant or a little bit hostile, and so on. So it's very important that the volunteers are aware of this kind of possibility and do not take it personally, because it's not something about them as people. Is mostly about the special social situation where the clients find themselves without their consent sometimes, especially when we talk about mandated clients in the correctional context. But as I said, this is not something very likely when working with volunteers. Now, before I close this small presentation, I would like to pass on some closing remarks, because it's really, really important to remind ourselves that the most fundamental attitudes or skills that help the relationship or building up the relationship or the therapeutical alliance, even in the voluntary field, are the following. The first one is empathy, which is basically about understanding the feelings and the thoughts of the other person, but also reflecting those feelings and thoughts back to the client in a very specific and detailed way. And you will see later in the course how you should do that. Another very important attitude that helps the relationship is being non-judgmental. Not having prejudice about, I don't know, the social class, the level of education, or the race, or sexual orientation, and so on. This is a very important attitude that we need to show in order to help the relationship flourish. Another very important attitude is respect for autonomy. We really need to understand that we are not here to change people. We are here to support people make the best decisions. So in order to do that, we provide information, we provide sometimes guidance, and so on. But ultimately, the client is the one who owns the process of desistance, who owns the process of improving his or her own life. Therefore, we need to do our best to protect this kind of feeling of autonomy in order to increase the self-esteem of the person, to increase the likelihood of building up a very positive and strong working alliance, and ultimately to avoid addiction. We don't want our clients to become dependent on us. We want to be there when they need us, but we also want them to grow as independent and strong citizens. So these are the most important, let's say, positions or attitudes that the volunteer need to bear in mind when starting to work with with the clients. And of course, these attitudes can be developed during the course and also during the experience of working one-to-one with the clients. So having said all this, I wish you all the best, and enjoy the course, the rest of the course. And of course, fingers crossed with the work that you will do. Thank you very much.